Wait a minute, I was told it, God is all in my head, but I won't be a victim. Got a trip, living life in the streets. I might slip out and admit, but I won't be a victim.
I'm in the seven, I'm gonna act up. I'ma need you to back up. I'ma need you to back up. Yep. I'ma need you to back up. Spilling the tea, stirring the cup. I'ma need you to back up. I'ma need you to back up. Yep. I'ma need you to back up.
Is you put his loose chains, take his boot thing out the PF chains and take him K get a steak or something. Better tell mankind Undertaker, come. How you? Said I'm just fine in the right place at the wrong time. Let me slow down, switch the time and quit hiding.
I'm in the seven, I'm gonna act up. I'ma need you to back up. I'ma need you to back up. Yep. I'ma need you to back up. Spilling the tea, stirring the cup. I'ma need you to back up. I'ma need you to back up. Yep. I'ma need you to back up.
Was good with y'all? It's your boy AD, and to be honest, the main reason I put this review off for so long because I really felt like I've played enough to review it a while ago, but this game might be one of the biggest letdowns of 2019 because of the hype that was put into this game. Made it seem like 2K finally changed their ways by rewarding players with more VC, new neighborhood, and innovating their character archetype system. But it was exactly the opposite when the game finally was released September 6th. Now for those that don't know what NBA 2K20 is about, it's a basketball simulation video game developed by Visual Concepts and published by 2K Sports, based on the National Basketball Association. It is the 21st installment in the NBA 2K franchise and is the successor of NBA 2K19. Like I already stated, this game came out September 6, 2019 and is playable on the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and there's a mobile version out for Android and iOS devices, and then lastly we have Microsoft Windows. Now the most positive thing that came out of NBA 2K20 is the sales. That's the case because NBA 2K20 had the best launch month sales for any sports game in history. According to the NPD group, NBA 2K20 is the best selling game of September, beating out competition like Borderlands 3 and Madden NFL 20. And they ended up number 2 on the top selling games list for 2019. Now before we get more into this game, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, while also sharing this to help my channel grow. Starting with my career mode, because for me the story was the most enjoyable part of the game, and even though I say that, it's pretty straightforward and not too long but also not too short. That keeps you engaged the whole time, especially with guest actors like Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, Idris Elba, Rosario Dawson, and of course LeBron James at the end. I really like the introduction of the story. One of the main things that keeps me engaged is basically the face scan, because seeing yourself in a video game I don't think will ever get old. I'm just glad the face scan for this game worked for me, because past installments of 2K, sometimes the face cam was a little hit or miss. One of the things that I think that this story was missing compared to 2K19 is the arcade style type throwback game. If you remember in 2K19, there was a section of the story where you was basically in the arcade, you was with your teammate and you guys played a game. It threw you back to an old school type 2K game. So I really missed that in NBA 2K20. That's one of the parts of 2K19 that really stood out for me. And just the story as a whole was one of the more memorable stories in the 2K franchise, because I really enjoyed it for what it was. Now moving on to gameplay, you could tell noticeable improvements right at the start of the game, because the new My Player system, at first to me it seemed like it was here to stay, but the more you get into it, you really see that a lot of players are basically making the same archetypes with different names, and that's kind of how they tricked us into having us think they really innovated it. But as always, you can still create a player that really fits your playstyle. Now one of the main things that was missing from 2K19 was the blow-by animations, and they're back in this game, and I haven't played in a while so I don't know if it's changed. People who are still playing the game are saying that the patches are messing up a lot in the game that didn't need to be fixed, so I don't know if they've patched that. But for me, when I was first hopping on the park in Pro-Am, the blow-by animations were more frequent than it was in 2K19. But it wouldn't be 2K without the AI still being clueless as you're trying to grind your badges, but at least the defense defense isn't as unnecessarily stressful like it was in 2K19. Now getting into the more established players in the NBA, every elite player feels like themselves, which is harder than people realize for game developers. And what I'm talking about when I point that out is the badges and character traits. I feel like they really nailed the badges and traits for most of the elite players in the game, while also making the players in the game look like the actual athletes in real life. Something that Madden still fails to do to this day. Then lastly, ending with the progression system, it's always a grind no matter what type of archetype you play, but for 2K20 they kind of dialed it back a little, but now I've heard that they've made it even harder to grind and they've patched a lot of things that made it easier to upgrade your character. When I was progressing throughout the story and upgrading my character, the practice and games were pretty straightforward and easy to figure out how to upgrade certain badges. Like if you go into practice, they'll have a bunch of lists with different drills you can do and they'll tell you specifically what badge that upgrades the most. So that really helped for me in upgrading my character. So I really like that change that they did with the progression system. Now getting into pros and cons, starting with cons, one of the biggest cons that 2K still to this day have not seemed to be able to overcome is the servers. And when I say that, most 2K players, if not every, knows what I'm talking about. Every server on 2K is pretty terrible in how they go about having all the games at once. Some games on the court will lag while others run smoothly, but then sometimes the whole park is just laggy. And that's just unacceptable for a game of this magnitude. Like what type of gaming engine are they using and why are they still using it if they can't support the servers? Because year after year the sales increase, like I stated at the beginning of this video, but somehow they still haven't figured out a way to make the servers stable. And then getting to the next con on this game, which was probably the biggest it's ever been with the 2K community, is Ronnie 2K himself, the representative for the game. And the reason that he's on this list is because he's lied about so many things that the 2K community has finally spoken up and made it obvious to other players how much this man actually lies. Ronnie 2K lied about how you could respec your players before the launch of the game, saying that you don't have to worry about managing VC because whatever VC you put into a specific player, you'll be able to respec, which means take all your VC back and use for another build if you don't like your current build. But once the game came out, we found that not to be true, which is not a surprise, but for the head representative to actually come out and say that it would be in the game and to not have it in the game, it's kind of surprising, as there's no type of repercussions that comes with him just blatantly lying to the community. And then also during one of the launch trailers, there was the neighborhood that was shown. He was trying to say that that wasn't the neighborhood, but we can think what we want. As we saw when the game actually came out, that was exactly the neighborhood that it was in the trailer. So 2K didn't create a new neighborhood, which they was implying that they did, and the one that we saw in the trailer was the one that was going to be in the final version of the game, which we saw that also not to be true. And then lastly, the pie charts, which wasn't as important as the first two, but he was saying that we would get more pie chart options than we did in the NBA 2K20 demo, which you can click on the top right to watch the video I did over that demo. But basically there was supposed to be a lot more pie charts that went along with our archetypes, and when the game actually came out, there was a couple new pie charts for certain builds, but not for everyone, and those pie charts didn't really add anything unique compared to the pie charts that was already there. There were new pie charts, but not for every archetype like he was saying. So that was one of the last straws, I guess, for the 2K community, which is why at one point Fire Ronnie 2K was trending worldwide on Twitter. And then getting into some glitches, one of the glitches that I saw for myself, well, not me playing the game, but somebody else was playing the game, is your last name not showing up on your jersey, which may not seem like a big deal, but for people who are really want to immerse themselves in the game by using the face scan and having a name in the game, it takes them out of it when everybody has the last name on their jersey except for them. Hopefully they patched that now, but I'm pretty sure that that glitch is still going on. Even the release of product that has glitches that are that obvious, you just wonder to yourself if they even have people test the game. And then speaking on testing the game, that's another con I had, was the community feedback. The community feedback for this game needs to be more credible, and they don't need to trust the creators that they put in their trailers, because most times, if not all, they're probably biased. It may add to the reason why 2K never fixes some of the prominent issues in the game. They need to start pulling people from the community who actually plays a lot and has a following, but also talks about things that they actually improve the game. Not just people who are on my team trailers just to promote the brand. And I feel like if they do that, the game will have a longer life cycle, even though these games come out every year. And then my last con for the game is that there's too many game updates that cause more harm than good, which I touched on throughout this whole video. But these patch notes need to be a thing. Like, why does 2K release patches and not even have patch notes to go along with whatever they patch? Like, they'll have a representative or a game developer come out and say some of the things they fixed, but then some things will change in the game when the patch comes out that they don't talk about at all. And 9 times out of 10, that actually hurts the game. Them patching things that doesn't need to be fixed and not even touching the many issues with the game. And it's funny how 2K always finds a way to patch the things that will make them more of a profit, which they are a business, but at the end of the day, if you listen to your player base, then in turn they will reward you by putting more hours into the game instead of just hiding them in the dark and only telling them one of the 2 things on the patch when there's like 10 or 15. But getting into the pros that I have for this game, because I actually do have 2 pros. One of them is actually at the beginning of this video, is that the game sold well. Obviously they're doing something to make the launch always bigger than the last, and I believe they have something to do with Ronnie 2K just lying about everything. When the new gen consoles come out, you know that the graphics are going to be the focal point for the future installments of 2K to sell the game. But for NBA 2K20, I don't think they had anything to actually promote the game, so they in turn had Ronnie 2K come out and just lie about a lot of changes that was happening, made the fan base think that was going to happen, made them pre-order, not make them, influenced them to pre-order the game, and they found out that none of that he said actually came true when 2K20 finally came out. So it worked well for sales, but as far as Ronnie 2K, he took a lot of arrows, and I don't know if it was his fault in lying about it or if he was just fed false information from game developers, or maybe that's just what they want him to do to sell copies. And then my second pro for the game is hopefully the next gen consoles come out before the next 2K, so they have no choice but to make it seem like they improved the game. Like when the Xbox Series X eventually comes out late this year and the PS5 comes out, 2K has no choice but to upgrade the graphics. But as far as other things in the gameplay, in the neighborhood, hopefully they change all that and innovate their game going forward with the next gen consoles. Because if they have time to use the next gen hardware and come out with the exact same game with little to no tweaks to the graphics, I think a lot of players are going to be mad with 2K21. But in summary, if an important representative for 2K can't communicate with the game developers enough to avoid feeding fans false information, then why should I spend my money on your game? On the other hand, if you're an athlete, I will wait until the price drops well below 30, because I saw that was the price Best Buy was selling it for, so I'm sure you can find it cheaper online. But if you play basketball, you might not care about the original $60 price tag because it's a game about a sport that you actually play in real life. So if that's your situation, then I will still pick up 2K, because NBA Live I don't think is coming back anytime soon. So for right now, NBA 2K is what we're stuck with. But let me know, what do you think of NBA 2K20 and what's your favorite mode in 2K? In my opinion, my favorite mode is always my GM, because I like to mix and match certain players to see which styles match with who, and that's just my favorite part of 2K, is just going throughout the season, building up from where it started to where I can actually take it. So I really like my GM mode and how much freedom it gives you with managing your team and the staff. So yeah, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed this, make sure to let me know by hitting that like button and subscribe, and share this with your friend, neighbor, dog, or just send this to the person across the street paying $60 year after year for the same exact game, because without them, this wouldn't be possible. And with that, I'm out.